Hey guys, so I'm going to go over some of the questions that you guys sent me through my Instagram Q&A. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. There's no need for me to talk a bunch of science with you guys. I can try and back it up with facts the best I can without confusing you with too many intricacies of that. The goal is get easy information out there for you guys so you can apply it in your day-to-day lives. Are your plans suitable for post-birth and breastfeeding mums? And there was also another question, are your plans suitable for pregnancy? So that's two questions. Yes, if you sign up with us, you get a custom plan made for you. So whether you're pregnant currently or breastfeeding, we'll work out the ideal amount of energy you need to be consuming to be safe for you and baby. We also work out the best sort of foods to avoid for you as well, because during pregnancy there are some foods that you should avoid. With breastfeeding, you do actually need to take in a surplus of calories because your body needs to require the nutrients to get a quality of breast milk. In saying that, you don't need to go crazy, and women often lose body fat post-pregnancy because of two reasons. The breastfeeding actually burns energy, and HCG is floating around, which is quite a potent fat-burning hormone as well that's around post-pregnancy. So those things being considered, during pregnancy, the main goal, if you came to see me, would be to maintain your weight in the healthy ranges set for you by your midwife. We wouldn't look at losing body fat during that phase. Now, if you're eating really terribly and you improved your diet, then hey, your composition might change. That's not a biggie, but that's not going to be our priority. With breastfeeding, the goal is, if your goal is to lose a bit of body fat and tone up, we can definitely do that the healthy way while maintaining breast milk quality. Can you get stronger in a calorie deficit is the next question. This is going to be determined by how your diet's set up and how much of a calorie deficit you're in. So if your diet is set up with no carbohydrates around training, you're training fasted, then chances are you're going to get pretty weak pretty quick, okay? Carbohydrates are a fuel source that your body will use, particularly during anaerobic activity like weight training. So I prefer my clients who are in a calorie deficit and also trying to perform with strength-based sports to have a decent amount of carbohydrates before they train and then a decent amount afterwards to help recover so they're ready for the next training session. With that being said, we also try to not create too much of a calorie deficit, so you're still eating a decent amount of food so you can recover from those training sessions using some supplements, like proven supplements like creatine, micronized monohydrate, which increases strength, is another thing we can do during a calorie deficit to ensure that. Also check your programming. If you're going in and doing too much volume, you may find that your strength goes down because you're just burning yourself out. So you do need to be programming correctly for strength. So yes, it definitely is possible to maintain or even get a little bit stronger if you're programming and your nutrition is on point. Now cardio, how would that factor into it? I would always try to do cardio away from your weight training as much as possible, just so one, you're creating a time for weight training where you can put all the focus in that and do that pre and post workout nutrition, and you're going to fuel that a whole lot better. It also can make people tired if you go to a cardio session and then have one meal, go straight into a weight session. You might not perform optimally in your weight session. So by having your cardio, oftentimes people will do cardio fasted or earlier in the day and then weight train later in the day, or swap it over and do weights early in the morning and then cardio before dinner, just trying to create that time between sessions so that you can perform maximally. Next question is from some sort of fighter. When you're cutting weight for a fight, can you still do some strength training as part of your conditioning? Yeah, definitely. So I used to box, and we would still maintain a few strength training sessions in there. Remember, if you're just doing a ton of cardio and eating a low calorie diet to try and drop weight, then chances are if you're not weight training or maintaining the activity that you're actually trying to perform at, that's going to get worse. So you do have to maintain the things during your calorie deficit, during your cut, that you want to continue to keep there. So it would be like a bodybuilder not weight training at all during a contest prep, and then expecting to still have all of that muscle there at the end of it. If you don't use it to some portion, you will lose it. Same with your skill sets with your fighting. If you're not practicing your fighting, then that's going to go out the window come your fight. So you need to be including your fight training, pad work, etc. Then you need to be doing some weight training to maintain muscle mass. This doesn't mean have to be a 5-day bodybuilding split. It might just be one upper body and one lower body session per week, with programmed with the correct amount of volume to keep that strength there that you built up in the off season. then having your diet set up correctly with enough food to create an energy deficit so you drop body fat, but you can still perform all of those training sessions. Chances are, if you're a fighter, you've got one cardio session, which will be your early morning run, and then you have your pad work or sparring at night, and maybe your weights during the day. So you'll be doing a lot of exercise, so there's no reason you have to be on a really, really restrictive energy deficit. You can probably eat a bit more food. The next question was best prep hack. So for those of you which don't know what that means, prep being bodybuilding competition prep, where we diet quite restrictively to get the low body fat, and hack meaning what's going to help that basically process. For me, making food taste good is really, really important to getting through that contest prep phase. I never actually really feel like I'm dieting because I don't follow this is the bro foods and stick to 2 or 3 different carbs and 2 or 3 meats. If I do want to make a homemade pizza, then I will use a wrap with the same amount of carbs as rice. Obviously gluten free for me because I'm celiac, but I'll make that work for me so I don't feel like I'm missing out on certain things. So every now and then, just changing your foods around, having a nutritionist like myself where I can program those things in for you so you have a variety of options for your carbs if you're not really sure how to do that yourself, is really, really important so that you can make your food taste good. If you enjoy prep and you're sticking to your diet, then you're going to get in great shape. People who often binge on prep is because they're eating kumara 4 times a day or pumpkin 4 times a day. They absolutely hate it. So then of course come the weekend, they just want something else. They just want their flavor from something else. So things like Oh My Spice, they have a ton of flavor spices. So they have sweet and savory ones. They have minimal calories and low sodium. I like making my water taste good, so there's a ton of low calorie stevia based sweeteners out there, water enhancers. You can also use things like amino acids in your water just to get your water tasting good so you can get the level of water up that you need to drink. Women 2.5 to 3 liters, and men around that 4 liter mark. That's going to keep you fuller for longer. Doing things like sweet teas, so herbal teas, and adding a little bit of stevia or Nativia, that can be great to just kill the hunger and just give you some flavor that you're not really used to. You can do them hot and cold as well. So chuck some ice and water in a big jug, throw some herbal tea bags in there, flavored ones, fruit teas, etc. Throw a bit of Nativia, and that can be water that you can easily drink during the day. So number one prep hack is make everything taste good. Don't make it like the 4 foods that you have to eat and just only eat those 4 foods for 16 weeks. You're going to set yourself up for cheating on your diet or really hating it. Next question is, how do you maintain a healthy diet without losing that balance and self-sabotaging? Really, that goes back to that last question that I sort of just answered about the prep hack. Making your food taste good. If you like what you're eating, you're going to stick to your diet. If you stick to your diet, you're going to get results. Then once you have those results, you simply slowly, periodically increase food and reduce cardiovascular activity if you're doing that, so that you find that balancing point where you're eating enough to maintain your weight, but also you feel full and fueled, taking enough macronutrients and micronutrients, and you're doing enough activity that you're not super run down and you're actually enjoying it. So it's about finding that balance of eating the right foods to get your goals, to get to your goals, and eating them in the right amounts, I should probably say, to be in that energy deficit, doing enough activity to make that happen, and then slowly reverse out of that. Now, if you have trouble doing that, then I highly suggest my lifestyle plan. That's what I do for you. I take the guesswork out of it. I work out how much you should be eating. I make all the adjustments for you. If you're getting sick of foods, I find replacements so you have plenty of options all the time. And then we get you to your goal. Once you're at your goal, we reverse out of that. So we slowly add more food back in. Then we add in our dietary freedom. So cheat meals, meals out, how to eat out, a little bit of alcohol. So you can maintain your weight, eating a lot of food, enjoying time out with your friends and family. And we also reduce the amount of exercise you're doing to a certain point. So you have that balance there. So a lot of people, they go very, very hard. So they restrict, I'm going to do an omelette for breakfast and 2 chicken salads, try crash diet all this weight off. And that's just not sustainable. And so then the backlash of that is they just go crazy on the wrong foods and they never find that middle ground. So do contact us if you need help. Next question was, when will the recipe book be out and is it free to existing members? It is out now. It's on the website www.jcn.co.nz. You can buy it and then we will ship it out to you Monday. So please jump on, grab it if you want to grab it. It's $29.95. Unfortunately, we can't make it free because it is a fully published book that has, costs associated with creating that. So we've spent a lot of time building this up for members and for non-members. So this is a great thing you can use for a gift for a loved one who perhaps wants to be a little bit healthier or just wants some ideas of how to make their food taste better, because there's heaps of things in there, from snacks to full meals through to sauces, condiments, spice mixes, different things that you could use in everyday life if you're not a client. And if you just want to eat healthier, there's tips in there how to do that. And if you are a JCN client, we show you how you can use those things as well. So next question is, what is my main advice for someone who is a hard gainer? Well, someone who's a hard gainer is also what we call an easy loser. So you lose your gains very quickly. If you stop eating the amount of food that you built that muscle with, or you built that mass with, then chances are your weight's going to drop pretty quickly. So consistency would be the first thing for a hard gainer. You want to make sure that you're getting your food in all the time. There can't be 1 or 2 days a week where you're barely eating, because your weight will just drop off super quick. The other thing is, don't overtrain. You don't need to be in the gym sometimes 6 days a week if you are a hard gainer. I've seen people who struggle to gain mass actually have really good results off a 4-day program, because they're burning less calories by training less, but they're also able to recover better with those days in between. So, day on, day off sort of training. That's a great way to go for someone who struggles to gain size. The other thing for hard gainers is, oftentimes I see guys and they think that they're eating enough and they really aren't, okay? Prioritize eating a lot of good quality food that you enjoy. That's the number one thing that I have to do. I struggle to gain weight as well. And it's about making sure that you're consistent with your meals, eating foods that you enjoy so you can keep eating those meals. So making your food taste good is a really big thing, but getting enough food to actually keep your weight going up. So having someone like myself or a nutritionist design a plan for you that's going to optimize that, it's really important. The other thing is digestion of food. So don't be trying to get 40 grams of carbs if that's one of your meal carb allocations from pumpkin, and you have to eat half a kilo of pumpkin, versus you can quite easily do that with some rice, and that's going to digest a lot easier and be a lot smaller in volume on your stomach. So just using the different volumes of foods and understanding that some foods are actually more dense in carbohydrates than others is an easy way to get more food in. Last question is, what is the negative effects of 2 or more contest preps per year? And what does it sort of do to the body? Well, a bodybuilding based diet is going to get you to an extreme level of body fat that is required for your division. Now with that, you have the slowing down of your metabolic rate, the increasing of ghrelin, the hunger hormone, the priming of fat cells that can basically get you fatter quicker. There's a number of other things that happen behind the scenes. So as calories go down, and there tends to be a drop in hormones, which tends to have an impact on women and their menstrual cycle, and men and their testosterone levels and libido. So looking at those things is, the longer you prep for and the more competitions you're doing in a row, you're going to have that drop in hormones, which can be harder and harder to recover from. Men, as testosterone drops, you can lose more muscle mass. Women, as those hormones drop, it's going to stop your period, which can then have negative effects as well. As you diet for a longer period of time, your metabolism gets slower and slower and slower, which means after the shows that you choose to do, let's say you do 2 or 3 in a row, you're going to be really primed to store body fat. So it's going to be very, very important to do a reverse diet. Otherwise, you're going to store a lot of fat very quickly. Your metabolic rate is going to be still very low, so it's going to be hard to get that fat off long term. The thing about dieting for a long time is ghrelin, the hunger hormone, is very high. So then the compliance to the diet becomes harder. What we see is, people are very, very diligent right up until the competition. And then after the competition, they tend to go a little bit crazy on food, and then ghrelin is just still really, really high for a long time after the show, and they can't stop themselves from eating because they just have that constant hunger there. Now with the slow metabolic rate and the prime fat cells and the constant hunger, that's a recipe for you gaining rapid weight gain. So there's that hormonal damage that's done during all dieting phases, whether it's for a bodybuilding comp or you're just dieting in general. Those three things that happen hormonally and with, ghrelin and your fat cells, that happens down until you get to your prep. We have to undo that damage. Cortisol's quite high at the end of a contest prep. Your hormones are very low. Ghrelin's very high. We want to slowly increase food and reduce cardio over a period of time to let those things level out. And from the research that I've sort of looked at and the literature I've looked at, it's about the time that you are on your diet phase is about the time it's going to take to recover from that diet phase. So it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you did a 12-week prep and then stayed lean for another 12 weeks, it might be 24 weeks total for you to reverse out and get things back to normal. So really consider when you're doing competitions how long you stay lean for, and then consider that phase after being lean, slowly increasing food, not going crazy with food. You've got to treat that as important as the prep. So bonus question, someone asked, what was my most memorable bodybuilding moment in my career? So far there has been 3. So the first one was turning pro in another federation in the IFBB with Jess and myself earlier on in our career. We turned pro on the same night, which was super awesome. The next would be my rookie year as a pro. I got second in 3 pro shows in the States, which qualified me for the Mr. Olympia Men's Physique, where I competed. My mum, Jess, my sister, Jess's mum all came to watch. Stepping out on that Olympia stage, which was a dream of mine for my whole life, seeing them in the audience waving a New Zealand flag, definitely one of my most memorable moments. The last one is most recently our debut as WBFF pros. I love the whole experience. It was probably my favorite competing experience, and the favorite part about that for me was 2 things: stepping on stage with my best mate Dan Mazzola and watching him take out the muscle model category after I know he'd been through a really hard time with that prep with some personal issues. So I was really happy to see him complete his goal and really smash it out of the park, and me be a part of that as his training partner, but also as his prep coach doing his nutrition. Being on that stage and placing 4th myself was amazing as well. It was such a buzz to be back on stage and bring the best package I've ever brought. The second and probably most memorable moment is seeing Jess's name called out as the WBFF Australia Bikini Diva Pro winner. Everybody just went wild. It was crazy to see. I don't think she expected it, but she definitely worked for it. And I just loved seeing her be so excited to see her hard work pay off. And she brought a look that we both worked really hard, but we said, let's just bring something where that you're happy. And so that whole time it wasn't about a body fat percentage, it wasn't about anything but being the look that she wanted to take on stage, which she did. So for me, that was an awesome moment to be able to help her make that happen through nutrition, but also just be there as her husband and just watch her achieve her goal.